Right. 3 part I. So it's 5 minus 5I over 2 plus I. Alright.
It's 5 plus 5I. 1 is 2I. Oh, for 3 or 5.
Okay. So you look at the denominator. Just look up at the board. You look at the denominator, look up at the board. It's 2 plus I. You multiply the top and bottom by 2 minus I. 2 minus I is called the conjugate of 2 plus I. Now you have to multiply the top first. So you just write down in brackets. You can do this on the side. 5 minus 5I, we're just multiplying the top bit first, times 2 minus I. So break it up. So the first 5 times the second bracket. Minus 5I times the second bracket. Alright, so call it out.
10
Minus 10I and plus 5I squared. I squared is minus 1. Minus 1 times plus 5. Alright, so we've got 10 minus 5. Minus 5I minus 10I minus 15I. So the top bit is equal to 5 minus 15I. The top bit, after I multiply the top bit, I get 5 minus 15I. Okay, I'm going to multiply the bottom bit now. So the bottom, 2 plus I times 2 minus I. Just keep looking up at the board. That's why you're not writing. That's why we're recording it. Right, so 2 times the second bracket.
4
And plus I times the second bracket. Start multiplying.
4 minus 2 plus 2 minus I squared.
I squared is equal to minus 1. So minus 1 times a minus plus 1. Plus 1 and 4, 5. Minus 2I plus 2I, cancel. So the bottom is equal to 5. So here's the sum over here, 5 minus 15I over 5. Now I can separate it, I can break it up. So it's 5 over 5. Write the I at the side. So 5 divided by 5 is
1 minus 3I.
Is that alright? Do you want to pick out another question from 3 or will we move on?
Part 3, 6. Part 3.
2 people said part 3. Alright, so it's 1 plus 5I over I. How do you write I as a complex number? Yeah, as a complex number it's equal to 0 plus I. So what's the conjugate of so I is equal to 0 plus I. What's the conjugate of that? 0 minus I or just minus I. Right, so the conjugate of I there is minus I. Right, so we'll do the top bit first. So minus I times 1 plus 5I. Minus I times 1. That's I. Minus I times 5I. Minus. So minus times a plus is a minus. 5I squared. 5i squared. I squared is minus 1 times minus 5
Plus 5 plus minus 5
plus 5. Now I have to always write complex numbers with the real bit first and the imaginary bit second. Which is the real?
5 minus
5 is the real bit. 5 minus I is the top bit. It's the top answer. Now if you were doing this in an exam, you'd have a rough work column and you'd be writing it in there. Now multiply the bottom, do the bottom. I times minus I. Minus I squared. I squared is minus 1 times minus plus 1. Alright, anything over 1, 5 minus I over 1 is the same as 5 minus I. 1 doesn't make a difference. Alright? So so that's part 1 and 3, so you don't have to do those two at home tonight. I might ask you to do it. That will force you to actually look up, watch the video. Right, pick another. Will we move on to question 4? Question 4, you have Z1 is equal to A plus BI. Alright, and Z2 is equal to C minus DI. Alright, so the first part is I. What's Z1 conjugate? What's the conjugate of that? A minus BI. It's easy enough, isn't it? Part 2, what's Z2 conjugate?
C plus DI.
Alright. Part 3. What Z1 conjugate? Is it plus Z2 conjugate? Alright.
Is that it?
Yeah. So you add these two, Z1 and Z2. So if you add them, the two real bits, add the real bits together, A plus C. And then you've got two imaginary.
Minus B plus D.
Yeah, minus B, so you could write it as plus minus B plus D.
I.
Or you could write it as D minus B. I. Alright? Because you can't actually subtract those, can you? You can't subtract an A from a B. Or C from an A. Or add them. Right, Z1 plus Z2. Part 4. Z1. Here's Z1 up here. And Z2. Add the real bits together. A plus C. And then add the imaginary bits together. We've got B plus. Okay. And part V. So the conjugate of Z1 plus Z2. Actually, what I'll do is I'll come back to that in a second. We'll move on to. I'll stop that for a second.